Did Ferrari just reinvent the blown exhaust without breaking the regulations? And no one in Formula 1 knows how to copy it yet? Because what has been leaked from the SF-26 is not a simple aerodynamic improvement, it is a concept that could completely change the balance of power on the grid, and the most worrying thing for its rivals is that this advantage is not seen with the naked eye, but is felt in every corner. Ferrari has built this car around a very clear idea: take advantage of every available element, even those that were historically considered secondary, to turn them into active generators of performance. And this is where the famous FTM system comes into play, a solution that has gone from being an almost invisible detail to becoming the center of all technical conversations. We are not talking about a large piece, nor something visually aggressive, but rather a small strategically placed element that has the ability to completely alter the behavior of the rear aerodynamic flow. That's the first big clue that Ferrari isn't playing the same game as everyone else. The most disturbing thing for rivals is that this concept is not born as an isolated improvement, but as a design base. While other teams have developed their cars thinking about optimizing what they already knew, Ferrari decided to take a step back, rethink the entire architecture of the car and build everything around how the exhaust gases could be used in a much more intelligent way. This decision changes absolutely everything, from the arrangement of components to the way air flows through the rear of the car. It is not an evolution, it is a complete reinterpretation of the modern aerodynamic concept. And here appears the real problem for the rest of the grid. When one team introduces a conventional improvement, others can analyze, copy, and adapt it in a matter of weeks or months. But when what you have in front of you is a system that depends on the total integration between engine and aerodynamics, the situation changes radically. It is not about replicating a piece, but about redesigning an entire philosophy, something that is practically impossible in the middle of the season. That is why this leak has generated such an impact. Not because Ferrari has a visible advantage, but because it has created a structural advantage. As rival engineers have begun to understand what's really going on, the reaction has been almost unanimous: surprise, concern, and in some cases, disbelief. Because SF-26 is not only taking advantage of a gray area in the regulations, it is exploiting it in a way that no one had anticipated. And the most dangerous thing of all is that, since it is completely legal, there is no way to stop it from a regulatory point of view. Ferrari has found a path that complies with the rules, but takes them to the limits of their interpretation. This is the point where the story stops being a simple technical innovation and becomes a potential turning point in the season. Because if this system works as the leaked data suggests, we are not talking about a few tenths of advantage, but rather an improvement that can change the competitive balance between the big teams. And when that happens in Formula 1, the reaction of the rest is not immediate, but it always comes. Whenever you want, we expand the next act with the full technical breakdown of the system and why it is so difficult to replicate. The next level of this story is where everything makes sense, because understanding the impact of the SF-26 is not only about knowing that the FTM system exists, but also about understanding how it really works on the track and why it is generating so much concern among rival engineers. This is where Ferrari has made the smartest move, because it has not created a spectacular system at first glance, but rather one that is extremely efficient in real conditions, right where races are won: in stability, in traction, and in lap-to-lap consistency. When the driver steps on the accelerator at the exit of a slow corner, this is where the cars normally suffer the most. The rear tends to lose stability, the aerodynamic flow becomes more sensitive, and any small loss of load translates into a lack of traction. This is where Ferrari's FTM comes into play, using the exhaust gases not as a simple waste product of the engine, but as an active tool that energizes the flow passing through the diffuser and rear wing. This detail completely changes the dynamics of the car, because it turns a critical moment into a competitive advantage. The most important thing is that this effect is not constant or linear, and that is one of its greatest strengths. It is not about generating charge permanently, but rather activating it just when the car needs it most. During braking, weight transitions, and especially acceleration, the system acts as an invisible stabilizer that keeps the aerodynamic flow adhered and efficient. This allows the pilot to be more aggressive with the accelerator, reduce corrections, and consequently, gain time without assuming more risk. It's an advantage that doesn't always show up in the raw data, but it adds up lap after lap. But this is where Ferrari has gone a step further, because this system does not work in isolation. It is completely tied to the way the engine delivers power. The choice of a smaller turbocharger is not a coincidence, it is a key piece in this puzzle. By generating exhaust gases with higher pressure and energy, Ferrari directly feeds the FTM system, creating a constant interaction between engine and aerodynamics that no other team has managed to replicate so far. This makes the SF-26 a car that not only generates charge, but produces it dynamically based on what the pilot is doing. And here appears the real problem for the rest of the teams. They cannot isolate this behavior in a single component. They can't just copy the fin or modify the escapement and expect the same result. Because what makes the SF-26 special is the total integration of the system. Airflow, diffuser geometry, exhaust position, and engine response work as a single unit. Changing a part without understanding the whole thing would not only not work, but could worsen the performance of the car. This explains why the reactions in the paddock have been so strong. It's not just technical admiration, it's a mix of respect and concern. Because when a team finds a solution that depends on the entire architecture of the car, it leaves the rest in a very complicated position. Either they spend months redesigning their concept, or they accept being one step behind for a good part of the season. And in a championship as tight as the current one, that difference can be decisive. At this point, the SF-26 stops being just a fast car and becomes a real threat to the balance of the grid. Because while other teams continue to chase tenths in traditional areas, Ferrari has found a way to generate performance in a place where no one else was really looking. And that, in Formula One, is exactly how the great technical revolutions begin. And this is where everything really explodes, because the impact of the SF-26 no longer remains in the technical field. It begins to be felt directly in the balance of power within Formula One. What Ferrari has developed is not simply a one-time advantage, it is a tool that can condition the development of the rest of the teams throughout the season. And that completely changes the rules of the game. At this point, rival engineers are no longer asking just what has Ferrari done, but how long will it take us to catch up? And the answer is not encouraging at all. Because while other innovations can be copied in weeks through aerodynamic adjustments or new parts, the FTM system forces you to rethink the basis of the car. That means wind tunnel, simulations, redesign of the rear end, and, above all, compromises in other areas of performance. That is to say, chasing Ferrari could even make some teams worse before they get better. This creates a very dangerous domino effect on the grill. Teams like those fighting at the top cannot afford to ignore this solution, but they also cannot react immediately without risking their own concept. And that is where Ferrari gains time, which in Formula One is the most valuable resource of all. Every race without a clear answer is an opportunity to extend your lead, to better understand the system, and to optimize it further while others are still trying to figure it out. But there is something even more critical, and that is the psychological impact. Because when a team introduces an innovation that no one fully understands, constant doubt sets in among the rest of the paddock. Are we losing because of setup, or because of something we can't replicate? Are we close, or really far away? This uncertainty is devastating because it breaks the competitive benchmark. And in a sport where every thousandth is measured in detail, losing clarity about where the differences can be as damaging as losing actual performance. Furthermore, these types of solutions usually set trends. If Ferrari confirms on track that the FTM is as effective as the data suggests, we will not only see attempts at copying, we will see a change in philosophy in car development. Teams that until now focused on optimizing traditional flow could begin to explore new forms of interaction between engine and aerodynamics. And that opens a new technical war within the championship, one that was not foreseen at the beginning of the season. And this is where it all converges. Ferrari has not only created an advantage, it has opened a door. A door that, if no one manages to cross in time, can define not only this season, but the technical direction of the coming years in Formula One. Because when an idea works at this level, it stops being an innovation and becomes the new standard. Now the big question isn't whether Ferrari has the advantage. The real question is, will anyone on the grid be able to catch them before it's too late? Whenever you want, we expand the first block with much more technical detail and even deeper comparisons without repeating information. The bottom line in all this is not simply that Ferrari has found a clever improvement. It's that it has changed the approach to understanding performance in modern Formula One. Because the SF-26 does not stand out by a single figure, it is not only faster on a straight line or stronger in a curve, but it has achieved something much more difficult. Integrating different areas of the car into a single system that works in a synchronized and strategic way in each phase of driving. The FTM system represents exactly that, an evolution that goes beyond copying the past and that takes the idea of the blown exhaust to transform it into something completely new, adapted to current regulations and enhanced by decisions that directly affect the engine, the aerodynamic flow, and the dynamic behavior of the car. Ferrari has not recovered an old solution. It has reinvented it with a level of precision that leaves the rest in an uncomfortable position. And the most important thing is that this advantage does not seem temporary. It is not an update that can be neutralized with a specific improvement, nor a solution that depends on specific conditions. It is a design basis, a philosophy that has been integrated since the origin of the car and therefore has room for evolution. That means that while others are trying to understand it, Ferrari is already working on how to make it even more efficient. In this scenario, the championship enters a completely different phase. It is no longer just a question of who executes better each weekend, but of who has interpreted the rules of the game best. And right now, everything indicates that Ferrari has found a path that no one else has successfully explored. So the conclusion is clear. The SF-26 is not just a competitive car, it is a technical turning point. And as has happened so many times in the history of Formula One, when an idea like this appears, the rest have two options: adapt quickly or stay behind, watching an opportunity that can mark an entire era slip away. Whenever you want, I recommend expanding the first block, because there we can go even deeper into the technical base and make the script even more powerful without repeating information. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.